going amazingly well. I wanted to get on here and share with you my go-to staple look that is super easy to recreate with a lot of your favorite palettes if you're wanting to shake up your routine from maybe wearing all the warm colors that are going around. I know I personally wanted to shift into the cooler tones, and this is a look that I really enjoyed pairing kind of similar shadows as I went through the LORAC Pro palette back a couple of years ago when I panned it. And so ever since then, no matter what palette that I am choosing to go on and pan, I always kind of try to recreate this look because it's just a basic, everyday, wearable, perfect for work, perfect for school, perfect for everyday errands, but it still gives you a lot of versatility. And if you're wanting to shake up your routine, you've got that option as well. So, kind of going along with this, it has been tweaked a little bit to match my palette that I'm panning this year because I needed to be able to work with a stark white shimmery eyeshadow, and I also have a little bit of a different tones kind of with the crease colors going on. So if you're going with the LORAC Pro palette, my absolute favorite combination from there is to go in with Mauve, Pewter, you can use cream or champagne, the black shade, and then also a light bronze is kind of the standout of that look. So we're going to kind of go with that vibe. I'll walk you through how I put it together using a couple of palettes from my collection. We'll talk about some dupes, and then I wanted to also give you a little bit of some highlighting standout kind of products that have really made it possible for me to kind of get a whole different vibe with my makeup if you're looking to get some more use out of some of the products in your collection. So if you want to recreate this look, let's get to it. I do want to note, just before we get started with this eyeshadow look, there are a couple of standout products that I really just want to mention to you. If you have a neutral skin tone like I do and you've been afraid to wear cooler tone products because they can look kind of ashy, they can look kind of crepey, they can make you look dead, nobody wants that. We don't have time for that. So there are a couple of things that I found in my collection and some new products that I've been using recently that have really been game changers for me. So first off, in terms of foundation routine, a brightening primer is an absolute must for me in order to make some of these cooler tone shadows work and be pulled off in a very flattering way. So if you're trying to pan the Urban Decay Naked 2 palette, or you're trying to pan other cool tone shadows from your collection, a primer like this Becca, what is this called? The Becca First Light Priming Filter Instant Complexion Refresh is absolutely a gorgeous product to incorporate into your face routine. I got this from Octoly recently. I will include all the information in the description box below. It is worth the $38 that this product costs. I have been loving wearing this mixed in with my foundation over the past 2 weeks. So it has made a difference in not making me look, you know, like dull, fatigued, and have that like sallowness kind of come through. So it's really helped me to kind of go in with these cooler tones that I'm wearing on my eyes. So I had to share that with you. If you're wanting a drugstore option, the L'Oreal Magic Lumi Primer also works really well because those light reflecting pearls in it give your skin that boost that it needs to make it look glowy and hydrated, and again help kind of balance out your face before you put on those cooler tone shadows on your eyes so that you don't feel so like, you know, just that it's not necessarily working for you if you have a warmer complexion, or if you have a cooler complexion, then it's not looking like you're so like monochromatic, you know what I mean? Then the other standout product I wanted to highlight, this is a recent find for me, a rediscovery from my collection, but I've kind of been wondering how to use the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Powder in the shade Mood Light. This works really well as a setting powder when I want to wear cool toned eyeshadows. It has just enough of a lavender tint to it that it works for that ethereal, lit from within kind of a glow. So I wanted to share this with you because I know these powders aren't talked about as much anymore because Becca is kind of at the forefront of conversation at having the shimmering skin perfectors and the highlighters and whatnot. But bring this out of your collection if you have it because it works really well. It was one of those products that I was kind of like, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with it, but now I have a purpose for it. When I'm done using my foundation mixed with this primer, I go on and set my entire face with this powder, and it just gives me the ideal canvas before I start applying the rest of my makeup. So I just wanted to share that with you. We'll talk about bronzers and blush and all that as we get into the end of the video. So in terms of the eyeshadow, what I've gone through and done as per usual is I've taken my MAC paint pot in soft ochre to prime my eyes, and then I love the effect of light bronze from the LORAC Pro palette, but I'm kind of having to tweak my eyeshadow right now because the color that I'm currently working on for my Kat Von D Mi Vida Loca Remix palette is a shade called Legend. Let me show you what it looks like right here. It's kind of a bright yellowish gold. It's not quite the most flattering on my skin tone, but it's not just awkward and out there. So what I've done to make it a little bit more wearable is I've taken this NYX Jumbo eyeshadow pencil in the shade Cashmere. It has more of a warmer gold tint to it, and I just put this on my lash line and blend it in before I apply that Legend eyeshadow. It's not an obligatory step. This is only, you know, do it if you want to, or if you have this eyeshadow base in your collection. It's an ideal way to kind of use it, but like I said, I wanted that, you know, really bright yellowy gold to kind of take more of the light bronze effect, and this helps it to get to that point. So after I apply my NYX Jumbo eye pencil, I'm going on and I'm using an e.l.f. C brush to pat that Legend shade all over the lid area. Now, if you're wanting some dupes from your collection, I found actually quite a bit. I was watching several videos, like Laura had a video where she was talking about her Urban Decay Gwen Stefani palette that she's been working on steadily. The shade 1987 is very similar to the Legend shade. I was also thinking about this MAC Quad from the Mariah Carey collection that came out several years ago in that Chick You Like. This gold is also quite similar to Legends. So if you want to go in with some other things, if you don't have the LORAC Pro palette with light bronze, that gives you some options. And I also found a couple others. If you have the MAC Warm Neutrals palette, the shade Lemon Tart in there is also along the same vein. And then if you have the MAC in the Flesh palette, there's a shadow in there. I think it's called Glam Gold. Maybe it's kind of in the top, either the first row or the second row, like one of the shades immediately, like the second shade, either on the top row or the second row. So it gives you a couple of options of things that you can use. I've also was reminded, I was watching a palette declutter video earlier today. The Too Faced, was it the Bonjour palette that came out not too long ago, had a gold shade in there that would be quite similar, and even the Bananas shade from the Too Faced Peanut Butter and Jelly palette. It's a little bit more warm gold, but again, it just gives you a very simple light gold on the lid that would work beautifully with this eye look. So lots and lots of options to go through from your collection. Then, in order to kind of mimic the mauve area, I wanted like a really rosy transition area. Like I said, mauve from the LORAC Pro palette. This is the look that made me fall in love with that shade. And so I've been on the hunt to kind of find a perfect mauve ever since then with some of my other palettes. So I'm going through today with my Urban Decay Naked 3 palette, and I'm mixing the two matte shades in there called Limit and Near. I just take my brush and I tap them between and then apply it to my transition area. It's really simple, and like I said, it gives you an opportunity to kind of go through. I know this is a palette that isn't as talked about as it used to be when it was first released. That gives you another option to go through. But if you do not have the LORAC Pro palette or the Urban Decay Naked 3, you can go through with your LORAC Mega Pro 4. I mean, not LORAC Mega Pro 4, the LORAC Mega Pro. One of the things that I've done with the shadows in here is I like to mix Dusty Plum and Orchid. I've mixed them into this Franken shade right here that also gives you a really lovely mauve option for your transition area. Or if you have the LORAC Mega Pro 4, the shade Dusty Mauve, it's a little bit of a brighter pink, but it's kind of along the same veins where you could get a very similar effect on your eye. I also wrote down, if you have the Anastasia Beverly Hills Prism palette in the shade Lure, that was one that I have picked up recently, and that is a gorgeous shade to pop into your transition area. Or if you have the Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance palette. I don't have that one on hand, but I remember that there is a mauve shade in there that would be lovely with this look. Or if you have, if you want to kind of pull the more warmer tones, a mauve shade that I would pull for is from the Too Faced Natural Matte Palette in the shade Strapless. It kind of has a little bit more of a pinky red vibe to it. Or I noticed this on the sale page today. If you're on the Ulta website, the Ulta, what's it called, Matte Neutrals palette in the shade Jen, because I was kind of eyeballing that because the Rose Gold palette and the Matte Neutrals palette are currently on their sale page for like 10 bucks or something. So that gives you another option if you're wanting something a little bit more affordable to have in your collection. So I'm running that through my transition area. It gives me that rosy glow, perfection. I love it. Then we get to highlight. And I don't actually have a dupe for this on hand, but this is a standout product that I cannot recommend enough. What I'm doing is I'm going through in my inner corner and on my brow bone with this NYX Faux Whites eyeliner in the shade White Smoke. This has been a game changer for me with this look because it gives me brightness on my eyes. It's not so cool toned that it's weird looking on my skin, and it has just enough of a lilac where when I put the stark white on it in just a second, it kind of tones down the ashiness of those shadows. So the Faux White liner in White Smoke is so worth the money to pick up, whether you go to Ulta or your local drugstore. I'm so thrilled that this is at a drugstore price point. And like I said, I don't have a dupe for it, but it is the perfect, like, it brightens up my waterline in a lovely way. And then, like I said, it just go through and like use it in your inner corner and on your brow bone, blend it out with your fingers a little bit. It is gorgeous, gorgeous on the skin. So what I'm doing with my actual highlight, I'm going through with my shade Skulls from my Kat Von D Mi Vida Loca Remix palette, and I'm just stamping it and kind of blending it in over that White Smoke shade. And like I said, it just takes down the ashiness of that shadow and kind of tones down the shimmer a little bit. But if you're wanting some white shimmery eyeshadow options from the rest of your collection, if you have your Mega Pro palette, again from LORAC, Vanilla is a lovely option. In fact, that's going to be what I go through after I finish Skulls in a couple of days. Or if you have the LORAC Pro 2, I would go through with the shade Snow. This gorgeous shade right here, and I'm so happy that I discovered the White Smoke tip because now it's going to give me a little bit more versatility to get through this shadow as well. And then I was also thinking once again of the LORAC Mega Pro 4 because there is another palette of Snow in that one included as well. So it gives you again a lot more options that you can pick from, and I'm sure you can find even more shimmery white options from the rest of your collection. Then we get into our crease area. Mimicking Pewter is a little bit more challenging than you would expect because the color has just enough purple that it's a little bit hard. You can't go in with like a silver or a taupe. Like there's just enough nuances of purples and a little bit of gray and mauve, and it's really, really hard to recreate. But what I found, if I'm not using Pewter, a close comparison shade that I really love using actually is a combo from my Naked 3 palette. So what I'm doing for my crease color is I'm going through and I'm mixing the shades Liar, Factory, and Mugshot all together. And what I do is I take my brush and I go tap, 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 one last tap in Factory, and then I stamp it into the outer corners of my eyes and blend it up into the crease. It's like a beautiful, once again, kind of a rosy tone over that mauve transition area, but at the same time, you can make it go a little bit more brown, you can make it go a little bit more gray, you can make it go a little bit more taupe, depending on your mood and depending on what you find to be the most flattering on your skin tone. If you want something a little bit cooler toned, I would even go in with Dark Side over here. It's a little bit grayer than what I wanted, but again, it gives you a lot of versatility. Or if you're going through with your Naked 2 palette, Busted would be an awesome way, even though it's a little bit more purple, but it gives you kind of a way to go in with some more of the shades from these palettes that we don't necessarily hear about anymore. I was also thinking, because I pulled out my LORAC Pro 2 to use for the month of July to kind of give me a little bit more versatility out of this palette. If you go through and you want more of a brown vibe, Mocha is a pretty close alternative to that Factory, Liar, and Mugshot combo. And if you want something really cool toned, I would go in with the shade Chrome. It's definitely more silver, more taupe, but again, it gives you some option. Or if you want something really simple, you could go through with MAC Satin Taupe and kind of deepen it up with a little bit more brown or a little bit more purple, like maybe mix Satin Taupe with some plum from your LORAC Pro 2 palette, or maybe mix it in with more of a brown shade. You got a lot of options. And then I was also thinking about, let me pull it out real quick. It's not quite as dark as what I would want, but you can also mix this shade in with other colors. This is the Sephora. Of course, it's going to be difficult to pull out of here, but this is a Sephora shadow. It's kind of a taupey color in the shade. Oh, it doesn't say. I want to say this was like Hug Me or something. I don't remember in particular, but you can mix this with browns and purples and grays to kind of get the tone that you want, to really kind of amp it up, because I mean, it's dark enough, but if you want something a little bit deeper than this, because it's kind of along the same lines as Satin Taupe, you've got plenty of colors in your collection that would definitely amp it up to that pewter shade. So I wanted to share those tips to give you some more options out of your collection. And then if you want to, it's not an obligatory step. This is something I like to do because my glasses can kind of dwarf my eye look. Since I'm panning a black shadow, I wanted to go on and follow through with using it in the very outer corner of my eye to kind of give me a little bit of a winged effect, since my eyes are hooded, and winged liner is just not the most flattering option for me. So this is something I like to do. Or if you want to go in with a matte espresso shade, it looks really, really lovely. I know when I went through the LORAC Pro palette, I was all about the espresso, like espresso liner, espresso shadows. So you can always take that, or you can go through with a really deep plum. If you're using like your Subculture palette or your Prism palette, whatever you want. So I'm just taking a really small crease brush and kind of stamping it into the outermost corner of my eye and blend it up just a little bit to get some drama and depth for every day with my glasses for me. Or if you want something a little bit more dramatic to go out at night, this is a really lovely way to give a subtle but romantic kind of a feminine vibe to the look. So super, super easy. Then in terms of liners, I'm going through with just a basic black gel liner, and I'm setting it with my black eyeshadow. But again, you can go through with espresso, or if you want to pop some color on, this would be a fun way to kind of give you a really structured, you know, kind of a basic look that you can take with like really deep purple liners and blues and navies, and have fun with it. And then, like I talked about before, I'm going back through with the White Smoke eyeliner on my lower lash line to really give me kind of a brightening effect. And then normally I choose to go with a purple on my lower lash line. I'm taking my Maybelline Lasting Drama Waterproof Gel Pencil in the shade Polished Amethyst. I really love this along my lower lash line, and then I set it with a purple shadow. In fact, today I've got it set with Echo from my Mi Vida Loca Remix palette. But you can go through with your favorite purple, or if you want to wear a navy liner, or if you want to wear a cobalt liner, or if you want to wear a bronze, even taking that pewter down into your lower lash line, or you could go with a black traditional, you know, keep it simple. You've got whatever you want to do with that as well. And then as we get into the rest of the face, I wanted to share this tip with you because this has been another game changer for me that I've discovered that's really kind of helping me to branch into more of my cooler tone shadows. When it comes to bronzer, bronzer is not a bronzer of what I've realized. So when you wear cooler toned eyeshadows, I've noticed that the most flattering way to make it even and just cohesive on the rest of your face is definitely to follow through with a really warm toned red bronzer. So if you have something like this in your collection, it's going to give you just enough glow to your skin that you don't look corpse-like, but at the same time, there's definitely enough color in this that the product stands on its own. So as you're going through looking for reddish tone bronzers in your collection, the things that come immediately to my mind are if you have Bare Minerals Warmth. This is quite similar to the Becca Shimmering Skin Perfector and Gradient Glow, or go for other reddish tone bronzers in your collection, because what I've noticed on my skin tone, if you go through cooler tone shades like to contour, it can look really just flat and lifeless when you have a cool toned eye down to a cool toned contour, and then it just kind of makes your face just go, you know what I mean? And then if you have a really warm tone bronzer, it's too orange, where you look Oompa Loompa-ish, and then you've got these cool toned eyes and you're like, what happened? Or if you go with a bronzer that's too matte, like, and kind of neutral toned, it just looks it's not bad, but it's kind of flat looking, you know what I mean? So red tone bronzer, I've noticed, is definitely like, it gives enough warmth and depth and gives you that sun-kissed, you know, just got out of, you know, going to the beach. So I take it on the temples of my face and really concentrate it like where the sun would naturally hit, going from my nose through my cheeks, a little bit on my temples, and a little bit on the bottom of my face. And that way I get that cohesiveness to balance out the cool toned eyes, the glasses, and then it kind of helps give me some framework for the lip color. And for this look in particular, I really like going with just a mauve, basic, my lips but better kind of shade. But if I want to wear a deep lip, I can. If I want to wear a nude lip, I can. So if I'm going for deep lips, like if you're wearing a look like this in the fall, I love, love, love something like Max Diva or Max Sin, and it's all going to kind of depend on the blush you pair with it. If you don't want to wear blush, the reddish bronze is enough color to the cheeks where you don't have to, but you can always go in. In terms of blush, I like something more berry or mauve toned, but you don't have to do that if you don't want to. So today I have actually a little bit of a mauve eyeshadow on as my blush, but I'm thinking the NYX Ombre blush in that mauve or berry tone would be pretty. Or if you have the Tarte Amazonian Clay blush in Blushing Bride, that is a huge favorite for me. I don't have it anymore because I've panned it. Or any of your favorite berry tone blushes in your collection. And then another tip that I also do is I run a little bit of that blush through my crease area just to kind of warm up the eye a touch more, to give, you know, a balance once again from the eyes down to the cheeks down to the lips. Today's lip, I actually have MAC Whirl Lip Liner with MAC Twig in the center because I wanted to get use out of both of those products in my collection, but I also use my Bobbi Brown lipstick in Brownie, or if you have Bite Beauty's Pepper, if you want a little bit more of a pink tone, or Bite Beauty's Chai, or if you want something a little bit more nude, Velvet Teddy from MAC is a great example of something that I would like to reach for.